Hey everybody, it's Patrick
And Sarah and Mark.
from the board Meeples, and today we're going to review Tokaido.
Tokaido is a 2 to 5 player board game designed by Antoine Bauza and published by Fun Forge Games.
As always, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell for more board game content. All right, for our review today of Tokaido, we're going to go through an overview of the game. We're going to give a little bit of information about the aesthetics, our gameplay review, as well as the replayability.
Yeah, I think that gives enough information for you folks to decide if you want to play this game, try this game. We'll also show a little bit of the board game throughout the video as well. So the object of the game in Tokaido is that you're a traveler visiting Tokaido, Japan, and you're traveling along this path along the board game. So you can visit the hot springs, you can take some photos of all the different landscapes, or even buy a couple souvenirs.
Mhm. The game is pretty simple. It's very like to look at. It's very nice to look at. And I found it actually somewhat relaxing to look at the different kind of cards, the different kind of panoramics, the different kind of features on the board game. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that it is a simple art style. So there's a lot of white space, even in the cards. So there's different souvenir cards and um, cuisine and people that you can visit. And nothing really jumps out to me on those cards in particular. Me and Patrick both really like the panoramic cards.
Yeah, I found that they were very nice, especially if you lay them out. Like when you collect them, you have to lay them out, and if they're laid out in a complete set, they look actually kind of nice.
Yeah, and then another little feature that I like is that all the different character cards have a little space for your traveler's pack, which makes you just kind of feel like you're really traveling throughout Japan.
Yeah, and I think you're right. And though it doesn't stick out too much, I still do enjoy the aesthetics of the game. So I do find that I'm going to give it probably a 3.5 out of 5.
Yeah, and for aesthetics, I think it's pretty average, so I would just give it like a 3 out of 5 for that.
Yeah, no, I think that makes sense. Um, from a gameplay perspective, I find it that it's actually pretty easy to play and also pretty easy to learn. Like the mechanics aren't overly too difficult, and once you learn them, you kind of get into the flow pretty quick of the game.
Yeah, I agree. If you've watched one of our previous reviews, Parks, it is very similar in gameplay to that game. So you have a board laid out and you can choose where you want to stop along those places. If you're playing with 2 players, you're limited in where you can stop because you can only be 1 player on that space. With 4 to 5, it opens up different paths along the way.
Yeah, and that creates a bit of a nuance in the moving, like the moving strategy of the game, because you can block players, right? Or you can maybe jump a little bit ahead of them, which might benefit them or benefit yourself. And so that creates a bit of a flexibility in your strategy and what you're trying to do. And when you have some more players, that adds a little bit more of that kind of game element to it.
Yeah. And even though it's like an easy game to learn and pick up, there's a lot of strategy involved with the characters. So all the different characters that you can play with, there's 10 in total, they have different abilities. So I find that I change the way that I play this game when I play the different characters. Recently, I played with a character that when you stop at the shop spaces, you get to pay 1 coin instead of the price of one of the items. So if an item costs 3 coins, you can get more points for less money. So it's more bang for your buck.
Yeah, and I find that the character abilities at least creates sort of some diversity to the game. And though the mechanics are similar, those abilities allow the game to kind of flourish a bit more. I find that if it had a lot less characters, then the game would pretty much
Be
run
the
out of steam.
same,
Yeah,
right?
it'd be pretty much the same.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's also some randomness involved with the encounter cards. So you encounter different people along your travels into Kaido, and each encounter card either gives you like a new panorama card, or maybe some money, or maybe a free souvenir, stuff like that. So it adds a little bit of a random element.
Yeah, and because of that, I think like we typically play with 2 players, and so adding more players, I think, would actually help with those kind of features and grow the game a little bit. So it'd be nice to play with maybe 3 or 4 players.
Hmm.
It does work well with 2, but it's just I think it'd be a different mechanic with more players.
Right. And I also find like gameplay perspective, I kind of change the way that I play based on what I'm working towards. So if I have maybe one panorama card before I complete the set, then I might jump ahead and avoid some of the other places, even though my character might be really good on those spaces. And then you can get bonus cards from stuff like that, right? So there's bonus cards for completing the panoramas, and there's bonus cards for more encounters and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
so there is a little bit of diversity in the way that you play each time.
Yeah, exactly. And because of that, I think my rating it's about 3 out of 5 because the gameplay is easy to learn. It is fun to play. There is some strategy to it and some nuances, but I don't think it's an excessively complex game in that sense. So
Yeah, and I really like this game. So I like that you can pick it up and you can teach it to people very easily, and it's very easy to learn. It's got that move and play sort of element like Monopoly that we all know. So I would rate it 4 out of 5 for gameplay.
yeah. So that brings us to the next section, which is replayability. And so I find that with the different characters, that kind of helps with the replayability of the game. But the core mechanics sort of still stay the same. And so that kind of affects the replayability a bit.
Yeah, so me and Patrick, we find that we differ a little bit with how we find replayability. So it's all based on opinion, right? When I look at my board game shelf, I think, I would really love to play that game. And I come back to the same ones over and over. And that to me is what makes a game replayable. So for this game in particular, I find it's very replayable because you have 10 different characters. They all have different abilities. You have that randomness from the encounters. And then you can also play the game from left to right or right to left. So you can go along Tokaido in either direction, so that I find that it's very replayable.
Yeah, for myself, it's a little different. I feel that like it is replayable, but I'd probably play twice, once from left to right, right to left. Then after that, I probably would be done for the evening with the game. I probably wouldn't pick it up for the rest of the weekend. If I was playing this game with my core friends who play board games, I'd probably play it the one time with them, maybe those 2 games, and then I probably wouldn't touch it for a couple weeks, maybe a couple months. Maybe it'd be a better game with different friends who haven't played because it'd be fun. It's easy to learn. It's good. And so that replayability from my side is okay, but it's not something that I would do multiple times on a board game weekend or something like that.
Yeah.
And so that's why my replayability is a little bit probably lower than your replayability.
Yeah, what would you rate it?
I would give it the 2.5 out of 5 just because of that. Because it's not a game where I would spend the whole entire evening playing it
And
over and over again, right?
and
I'd
that
play it
makes
once or
sense.
twice and then I'm done and I'll put it away and then I'll go play some other game. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't mean it's a bad game. It's just that, I'm not going to spend 8 hours playing this game, for example.
Yeah, and see, I'm different. I would totally rate this game a 5 out of 5 for replayability just because it is so different.
Yeah.
So all in all, based on those 3 categories, the aesthetics, the gameplay, and the replayability, I would rate this game 4 to 5 overall.
Yeah, and taking all the factors that I just mentioned, I would be a little bit lower. I was going to go with 3 out of 5 for Tokaido.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, that's our review of Tokaido. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope this lets you decide if you want to play or not. I do enjoy the game, like I said. But, thank you for listening to our review. And
Yeah, thanks for watching. Let us know what you think of the video. Let us know if you've tried this game or if you want to try this game, or if you have any questions at all, just mention it down in the comments.
yeah, and don't forget to subscribe to the Board Meeples for more board game content, and also hit that notification bell.
Thanks.
Thanks, everybody.